Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Rom-Com Love podcast. We are so thrilled and delighted to have Kristoffer Polaha with us tonight as our guest. Welcome, Kristoffer. We're so delighted and
Hi.
honored to speak with you. Yay!
I'm honored and delighted to be here, ladies. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us and taking some time. We're so excited.
Of course.
Well, Chris, just jumping right in, you have an amazing resume from Hallmark Channel movies to Mystery 101. You've been in some exciting feature films that I've seen, like Wonder Woman 1984, Jurassic World. So, thinking about all of these roles and experiences you've had, what are some fond memories? And is there any past role that you would like to revisit if the opportunity came up?
That is a very great question. It's a broad question, but it's a good one. I feel like the experiences have been my life. My whole life has been making these movies and making babies with my wife. And between those two things, this family that we started and these movies that I make, it's been the entirety of my life. There's other things, there's some other stuff in there, but jumping from set to set and the relationships that have sometimes turned into really awesome real life friendships, like Austin Basis and I are still really close friends. Robin Thomas and I are still really close friends. Brittany Robertson and I are still really close friends, and Sherry and all of us from Life Unexpected. Liz, I mean, it's crazy how tight we all are still. And then Hallmark has been this really beautiful chapter of my career that I will, for as long as it lasts. I'm not going anywhere. As long as they'll have me, I'll show up. But for as long as it does last, I'll just look back on this time of my life as the good old days. I mean, they really are, it's a special time. Now, if I could relive a character, if I could bring a character back, I think there might be a little life unexpected in the air, but how fun would it be to see Baze 15 years later and just see
I'm
what
I'm
is he?
there.
Did he turn into a good guy? Is he still a knucklehead? Like, and how sad would it be if he's like nearing 50 and still hasn't got his stuff together? But like yeah, no.
I think I think he had his stuff together at the end there. We were ending in a nice little family dynamic. So yeah, I'd
We were
like to see
rooting
Baze
for
as a
him.
grandpa.
I know. Well,
There.
Brittany had a baby.
Yep,
In TV land, he is a grandpa.
that's true.
Is there something or when you meet fans, Chris, is there a specific role that you get recognized for the most?
Um, it's funny. My wife was on Days of Our Lives for about 4 or 5 years, and she had this pretty significant role as a character named Princess Greta. And she was in this relationship with a character named Eric, and they were like soap opera dynamite. Everybody knew who they were. And then she quit the show. She wanted to get off, and we got married, and so she was done. And it was interesting because like literally 6 months after she stopped being on TV every day, there was like every day we would go out to the mall, people would be like, "Oh my God, it's Princess Greta. I love this. Those are my stories. I love your story." Like, and she
Hmm.
would get hugs, and people felt this familiarity with her. And then within about 6 months, that started to taper off, and she got recognized a little less and a little less. And then a year later, barely anybody bothered her anymore. And it really sort of taught me my first lesson about celebrity and fame, which is when you are in the white hot heat of selling a project, you are ubiquitous and people are like, "Oh, I know you and you're famous." But the minute you step outside of the limelight, you are forgotten. And I mean, we hold on to the ones we love near and dear. There are people that, like, if you saw Robert Redford, you'd be like, "Wait a minute."
Hmm.
There are people whose fame, supersedes their relevance as far as like what projects they're working on or selling at the time. But yeah, it's interesting. Like when I was on the CW and I was doing Life Unexpected and Ringer, and I was recognized a lot for Bays. I mean, that was like the thing that I was. And then now Hallmark, I mean, and it's wild how often I'm recognized for my work on Hallmark. It's crazy how
Hmm.
many people watch that network. I mean, so it's been, and it's not one particular role, but I think if I were to say the movie that people have most sort of said, the character that's most identifiable with me is Jack Houston from A Biltmore Christmas. People are like, oh,
Hmm.
and he's a really beloved character that I portrayed, and he's brought up a lot.
Oh, wonderful. It's amazing.
Well, one of the things that took me a while to realize that you weren't, because you did so great with this, was Castle with, what was it, Caleb? Was that
Yeah.
yes. And oh, okay, you played bad so good. I was just like, when I saw you on Hallmark, I'm like, that's the same guy. And it took a little bit to have to remove them because that one was just a fun reoccurring character that you absolutely loved to hate.
Yes.
Yeah, he was a juicy character, and he literally killed the show. Like, no spoilers here, but literally killed the show. I mean, that was the thing. It's funny because when I did Hallmark, that Castle came out at the same time, and there were a lot of people on Twitter who were like, "Oh, I don't want to like you. I saw your Hallmark movie, but I don't want to like you because of Caleb." And I was
Hmm.
like, you know.
Give it a chance.
It's
Yes.
called Acting 101, but no, I'm telling you, really believable.
Well,
Well,
that's good
it
to know. There could be a turn in my career in the future I could dive right into bad guys for a while and enjoy that world.
yeah, bad guys with some mystery in there, and we're golden.
We're
Hmm.
golden. We're behind
Maybe
that.
we'll put a little romance in there and a little time travel, and we've got it all.
Got it
Yes.
all. Let's write it, ladies. Let's write the next one.
Let's
Oh,
write.
we're on it.
We're
Well,
behind you.
let's jump into your latest rom-com, Missing the Boat, which is airing this weekend. And of course, that has you reuniting after, has it been 10 years or close to that
10
with
years exactly.
Amelia? Yeah. So
Yep, yeah.
why was this movie the perfect movie for the two of you guys to come together again?
This movie came out of a really beautiful set of circumstances between Hallmark and I, where they wanted me to do a movie called A Grand Ole Opry Christmas. I don't know if you heard of
Loved it.
that. A
Absolutely
little
loved it.
Christmas movie, a little
Thanks.
tiny Christmas
Little.
movie we made this year. And it conflicted with another film that I was going to make, or it didn't conflict date-wise, but subject matter-wise. And I was,
Mm.
given the choice of choosing one or the other. And of course, Hallmark is my priority, and I chose the Hallmark one, but I was like, guys, like you're asking me to give another one up, and I don't know if that's, and so they said, well, why don't we load you up with a second one? And so
Mm.
Missing the Boat was uh greenlit pretty quickly. And in fact, the writer director MacLain Nelson was working on something else, and he quickly pivoted to that. So he was able to kind of write Parker knowing me because he directed
Mm.
A Small Town Christmas.
Oh,
So it's my
okay.
second time working with MacLain and my second time working with Amelia. So it's a
Hmm.
special movie in the sense that like we all know each other, and we know how each other works, and the trust was built in. And it's funny. Have you guys seen it yet?
I did, yes. I
I
loved
have.
it.
You
I'm
you
so
did?
excited to see it. Yes.
Yeah. Did you like it?
I'm loving all of them with the 90s rom-com feels, but there is so much that I want to dive into specifically with this movie because it covered, I had heartfelt, I had laughter, I had, of course, amazing scenery. So yeah, no, it's definitely one that I'll be rewatching a lot. I loved it.
Oh.
Good. Good.
So my first question on that specifically then is, can you share a bit about Parker and Kelly's journey together and then separately because they basically had to work together and separately to be able to come together at the end?
Yeah. I think the idea is you set up a dynamic with two people that are polar opposites that have totally different objectives. And then you put them in a situation where they have to figure out a way to work together. And in this particular instance, you've got a very uptight Parker and a very sort of, she's hiding, right? What she's doing on the
Hmm.
boat. So everything is kind of, she's almost pretending to be like a spy. She's another person. And then we get knocked off the boat and we miss the boat. And so the rest of the movie is this madcap sort of adventure to get back onto the ship. And we both have really specific needs why we need to be there. I work for the cruise line and she's working for the company that might buy the cruise line. And she's doing kind of a process of vetting and seeing how much it's worth and whether or not it'd be a good investment for this company. And then what you find out are you get this, and like you said, heartfelt, you get these really beautiful dropped in moments of real vulnerability and
Mm-hmm.
honesty between Parker and his past and the things that he's gone through and her character, Kelly, and what she's gone through. And um, it's a beautiful movie. And the credit goes to MacLain Nelson, who wrote it and directed it. I mean, he really did a
Mm-hmm.
great job of creating a world that was very Lucille Ball, kind of highball comedy,
Mm-hmm.
and also staying true to the heart of Hallmark and that idea of connectivity and the idea of letting love win.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yeah,
sounds
I came away with a lot of quotes from it that kind of just resonated with me personally, and
What
that
are your
makes
top,
a
what are your
fantastic
top
story.
two?
Afraid of more pain.
Hmm.
That one really, and I don't want to steal the whole interview, but it was the back. Like this was one of my questions. We rotate questions, but this is one of mine. So I'm going to jump ahead. Um, Parker's back was literally its own character in this movie, which I loved.
Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, and then for basically to get it into the kudos for the physical comedy element for you on that one, but then
Thank
how
you.
Parker's own journey and growth came from and how it kind of resonated with like how much we hold in. And so yeah, that one, and then soaking in the moments was
Yeah.
another one that just kind of really stood out. And so that was kind of like when there are ones that I can come back to and kind of repeat and like, I want to put that on my wall. It's a well written script.
It's a very well written. I think one of the ideas was that Parker was so busy. He was constantly in his phone. It was like I mean, literally, I wanted the
Mm-hmm.
phone to be a big character in the beginning of the movie where he's just constantly like, yeah, and then his sister's, talking to him and he's very just in his computer. And so that as he gets peeled away from his cyborg nature and loses
Mm-hmm.
technology and starts to have to focus on being in the moment with another human being, which I think is something we can all relate to right now. I
Yes.
feel like as a culture, we've all decided to, in the same way that smoking cigarettes was very in vogue in like the 1930s and 40s, like wartime America, like everybody smoked.
Mm.
And people were addicted to the nicotine. They wanted the finger, they wanted something to do, and then they like the oral fixation and they smoked like fiends. And even there was even chain smoking. And I think people are addicted to phones in the same way that people used to be addicted to cigarettes, where we want that dopamine hit. You go to Instagram, there's not even anything new to look at, but you just go to get that little and then you put it down again. And then 5 minutes later, you're like, well, I got to look at my phone again. And we're like, why are we looking at our phones? And
Mm-hmm.
if you ever go into public spaces anymore, everybody's looking at their phones. And I guess connecting to humans is really scary. And I think that right now, particularly in our country, it's even scarier because everybody's got different opinions about everything that's going on. And everyone's so vitriolic that, like, if you feel everyone's afraid to voice their own truths, or they're not. And the way that they're doing it is it makes it impossible to talk back to. And so it's like, it's just, we're in a weird moment right now. It's a weird convergence of technology and antisocial behavior that's putting everybody in this kind of isolated cell of their own making. So interesting movie because it kind of reminds us to break out of that cell and
Yes.
we are each other's freedom when we think about it.
Yeah. Well, Chris, I am so excited to see this movie because just this plot of having two characters come together just trying to get home. I love movies like that. One of my favorite movies is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Yes.
And so, would you say this movie kind of has that feel to it? Because I plots like this, I'm just all aboard.
You're all in. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles was the one that I was thinking of while we were making it, except instead of
Really?
John Candy. And
Oh,
yeah, I mean, yeah, like I guess I would be John Candy and she'd be Steve Martin or vice versa. I
perfect.
don't know who would be who,
Of
but
course.
it's this I guess Steve Martin was the uptight one, so I guess I would have been Steve. But anyway, I digress. And there's another movie that people keep referring, an older movie that people keep comparing it to, and I forget the name of it. Do you guys know it?
Oh, do you know when about it was made?
Mm-mm.
No, I don't even know that. Like, but people keep saying, "Oh, it reminds me of," and there's like a movie about, I guess, a couple missing a boat specifically. I don't know.
Okay.
Great interview,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like that.
No.
That's this is the kind of interview people will
We'll
tune in
solve that
for.
mystery too for you, my friend. We're on it.
That's
You know what? That is
that's
a
what
mystery that
IMDb
whoever's
is
listening
for.
to, they can solve it and they can answer in the comments below.
Exactly.
Subscribe
Yes.
and add your
Perfect.
comments.
Yes. We're our own Mystery 101 right now. Absolutely. So Chris, would you say I'm also excited to see your physical comedy in this movie. Do you like the physical comedy? Do you like more kind of the romance? What's your favorite role, or I guess kind of romantic trope to play?
Um, that's a great question. I don't really have a favorite. I love just telling stories. I feel like,
Mm.
you know, I like challenges. So if the challenge is doing something I haven't done before, I'm always a little scared to go to set. But
Mm.
then all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute, I can do this. And then what's the truth of that moment? Like how I'm like a big believer in finding honest human moments.
Mm.
And if I'm on a set, no matter if we're telling a huge comedy or a drama or a tense action thriller or or like a horror film or whatever, like I want those moments that exist where you just feel it in your bones, a
Mm.
truthful moment. And you're like, wait, that I recognize that as real. And that's all I'm
Mm.
after as an actor. I'm like a junkie for real moments, for truthful, honest moments. And you can get them. I did them in my movie, ladies, meet Fergus. Hello,
Yes.
ladies.
Oh, first
Hi.
I'll be
look.
honest, I'm a little scared of Fergus.
You should be. He's frightening. But
It's frightening.
there's a scene between Fergus and I
Mm.
voice Fergus in the movie. So I'm playing, opposite myself with this character. And when you watch it, there is a genuine, honest human moment that my character Sam is having on stage with a dummy. And so it's like there's something that happens and you'll see it. You'll know which one I'm talking about when you watch the movie, but you can feel it in your bones. And you feel it in your bones when you watch it, and you can feel it in your bones as an actor doing it. You know when you get it right. You're like, that's it, we got it. And I think regardless of the kind of genre or trope or whatever it is that I'm in, whether it's, you know, like you said, romance and the charming chivalry that goes with that, or broad physical comedy or whatever, I'm just always trying to find those moments of like, okay, we're going to pack it in with some somersaults, but we're really still finding that authentic human moment.
Yeah. Oh, that's so lovely.
Thanks.
So, Mimics is your directorial debut, correct?
Yep, yep.
Oh, okay. So, how did you find that within yourself then as you're directing yourself? I'm kind of curious. Those
Well,
moments.
there are two sides of a camera, and one is, how do we light it? Which frame, let's frame it up. Let's, like the difference between like I could have been doing the interview, like this the whole time, but then there's some
Mm-hmm.
shadowing. I could have framed it to the right, or I could have included Fergus like I did like in another one.
Mm-hmm.
There's all sorts of choices on how you want to frame something, right? That's the director's job. And then the director's job also is to work with the actors and make sure that the moments are honest and truthful, but knowing what I wanted as the director, as the actor, I could skip that part. So it was really, I was able to set the camera up, get the
Mm.
shot that I wanted, and then I would be able to step in front of it and do the thing that I also knew I wanted to achieve. So it was actually a nice shorthand.
Okay.
It's pretty good. If I could do that with all my directors, we'd be out in 5 hours, 5 hour days.
You're like, and we're off.
Yes.
So, what is the story of how this came to be for you?
How
For
the
like, did
from
yeah,
for mimics?
for Mimics was it something that you envisioned and then you were like brought in a writer, or how did that like?
No.
I honestly don't know the background yet.
Yeah, I'll tell you the background. So, I went to a little elementary school called Anderson Elementary in Reno, Nevada, and it was a year-round school. So we had to go to school in the
Mm.
summer.
Oh,
You guys know about year-round schools?
yes.
Yep, that was
Yeah.
my cousins in California had that. Yep.
Yeah, it was crazy. And I was like, we're going to school in June and we got to go back in August. We
Yep.
only get July off, but we had like a month off in December. But none of my other friends were off. So you
Right.
had to become really close with the kids that you went to Anderson with because those are the only kids you shared vacation with. So there was a kid there named Mark Oakley. And Mark and I uh, would do all these sort of imagination adventure games. We'd play Indiana Jones and I'd be like with the whip, or I'd break glass, or I'd gunshot sounds. And I used to make a lot of noises. I used to imitate Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse really well. And he was
Oh.
always fascinated by it. And
Mm.
so we fell out of touch basically after middle school. I went to a different high school. He went to one, like, so we kind of just parted ways. And I left Reno. I went to a boarding school, then I went to NYU. So basically, I left my hometown when I was
Mm.
14, so pretty early. And I basically
Mhm.
left all those friendships behind. And then in 2020, Mark Oakley reached out on Facebook
Mm.
because over the years I'd slowly followed people. They followed me back. So I kind of got in touch with people from Reno through Facebook, um, which in its original design was a really wonderful way to reconnect with people, right?
Mhm.
But Mark shot me this idea and he was like, hey, man, do you think this would make a good movie? And I was like, you know what, Mark? I don't know until you write the script. And if you're willing to
Mm.
write a spec script, then we're off to the races. But like, who knows? Yeah, it's a good idea. It's got legs, but whether or not you could pull it off is another question. And I said, if you're willing to go for it, go for it. And he was, which is such a rare thing. He was able to go and write a script for
Mm.
free, 160 pages, and I got this thing, and he and I just started working on it. And we started like winnowing it down and sort of like whittling scenes and making them tighter and cutting parts of the storyline out. And then I'll be very brief, but I had kind of like that mule in the movie with the carrot. I kept kind of leading
I
Mark
love that
along
scene.
with these carrots of like one day, one day, one day, and Mark was like what is one day? And then in August, it was the strike. I was out of money, Mark was out of money. We were both at this impasse, and everything
Mhm.
was kind of like just shut down. And I remember wanting to tell Mark that I had sent him on a fool's errand and that
Mm.
Hollywood is a pipe dream laden in pipe dreams in a pipe dream city, and it's all in a pipe dream universe. Give up. It's silly. Let's just be adults and go figure out a real way to make money for your family. I got to get a job somehow as an actor. Like this is foolish. But instead, what I said, literally, instead of that, I said, "Do you have a rich friend or a friend of deep pockets?" Is what I said. And he said, I think I have one friend who might be interested. And this guy, his name is Ricardo Valerdi, and God bless him because he heard our pitch over Zoom,
Mm.
called just like this. And he said, I don't really know much about Hollywood, but I believe in the two of you guys, and I'll give you a development fund. And he wired us enough money where I was able to pay Mark a fair wage for his script. And I was able to set up basically the production LLC and a bank account for Mimics and basically planted a flag and said, we're going to make this movie. And then as soon as I did, Mark's father died.
Oh.
And it became like a lightning rod for me because knowing that Mark's father knew that Mark had been paid as a screenwriter and that Mark had met his Hollywood friend who was going to produce this movie, I felt like I had to put my money where my mouth was. And I felt this sort of eternal, sort of bigger than my own life draw to make this thing happen. And so his name is Larry Oakley, and he gets a lot of credit for making this movie happen because I don't think without that impetus, I think it still might have been like, well, one day, because I get a job and I leave, and I've been gone working since June.
Mhm.
And that would mean all my dreams are put on hold from June until whenever I'm free to start focusing on them again. But in this weird way, everything had opened up. The SAG shut everything down. The business was slow. We got this investment fund, and then Mark's dad died. And what's even crazier is about 2 weeks later, I took a picture of Mark and I, and let me see if I can find it really quickly. Um, Hold on, bear with me.
No, that's like.
problem.
Um,
This is making me tear up. Reminds me of my dad.
I'm
Mm.
sorry. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
well, he was how I got into Hallmark watching. He was the Hallmark watcher. And so thanks to him, I have all these different elements in my life that wouldn't have been there. So yeah.
Right. Right. And that's, I mean, it is the beauty of, right.
Hmm.
It's the beauty of these things.
Mm.
I'm going through my photos right now because I really want to show your audience. This is going to be, is this audio only or is it video?
No video.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, I want to show you guys too, but your audience will want to see. Um, man,
If it was audio, I'd love to hear you describe the picture.
well, yeah.
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 So there was a guy named uh, David Hessimer, who is a photographer friend of mine.
Mm,
And he came to Reno to help with this group I work with called the Down Syndrome Network of Northern Nevada.
Mm.
yes.
And he took a picture of Mark and I. Son of a gun, where is it? And this picture ended up being, for whatever reason, mislabeled in my camera. I think David Hessimer misdated the picture. And so it was
Mm.
always the last picture to show up. Here it
Mm.
is. It was always the last picture to show up. So that's a picture of Mark and I.
Oh,
Oh,
okay. I've seen that. I
sweet.
don't know why. I think I were maybe have you posted it somewhere
I've
recently?
posted this before, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
Okay.
and
Yeah.
so every time I opened my camera, Mark was looking at me. Every time I took a picture, the last picture was this one.
Oh.
Every single day. And so it
wow.
was almost like it really did feel like a supernatural, like Larry Oakley was like, "Hey, I need you to make this movie. My son needs
Mhm.
this." And I'm going to
Mm.
tell you something. The coolest thing about mimics, the coolest thing about mimics
Mm.
is that on October 25th, 19 or 2023, oof, gosh, 2023, Mark Oakley was a copywriter and he was trying to figure out his next moves. He had a little boy who was looking up at his dad, and he was kind of trying to figure out how he was going to provide for his family.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden, he was a paid screenwriter and his whole identity changed. And now he was a co-producer and a filmmaker. And this thing like lodged itself into his life. And now his son's reality is like, my dad makes movies. My dad does this thing. Mark created this really wild world of Fergus. And because of me and all the impersonations I do, like he tailor-made this part for me. And in return, through just 26 years of doing it, I made this movie out of just a cosmic sort of responsibility to Mark and his dad and saying like, let's make this thing happen. And I'm so glad that I did because I took my little chunk of that development fund. I made a trip to Reno, sat down with an investor, and we had our first investment by February 2024. We had our
Mm.
second investment by April 2024. We went into
Mm.
pre-production by May of 2024, and went to principal photography in camera on June 10th, and then did a 15-day shoot, just like a Hallmark movie. But my a really good producer and friend of mine, Ken Carpenter, joined Mark and I in February, and we had this incredible team assembled. It was a series of yeses that I wish I could take any kind of credit for, but I really can't. It was a series of yeses that God just opened up door after door after door. And we made a movie, and we'll see what happens. Who knows? It's going to be in theaters February 13th. And like maybe people will show up and buy tickets
We'll
and
be
maybe
there.
we'll,
We will be
but
there.
you
Absolutely.
know, the thing has been done and the thing has already changed Mark and I. Like I couldn't say I was a director and now I can say I'm a director, and I've never produced a movie. Now I can say I'm a producer Guild of America producer. I mean, it's a pretty cool thing.
That's amazing, Chris. So did you get to have kind of like a premiere celebration? Have you seen the movie yourself?
Oh, I've cut every frame of the movie. I've seen
I
the
was
movie
gonna say,
I've seen the movie 1,000 times. But no, it's a
Get
good
out.
question because you never know.
we've learned a lot of things that directors don't know what the final thing is that's going to be
Well,
that
here's
airs.
the
So it's not
thing.
as special.
If it were a network show or if it were a big movie, it's not a bad question because A lot of times you do a what is called a director's cut, and then you give it back to the people who paid for it, and then
Mm-hmm.
they do whatever they want. So
Mm.
sometimes, oftentimes, the first time that directors are seeing their movies is the premiere. So it's a totally legitimate question, and it was the right question to ask. Um, it is. Different for me. My editor and I worked on this thing from August 3rd until March, and I literally Barry Wise and I chose every frame, every scene with Ken's help, his input. He was an amazing collaborator, extremely creative when it comes to story and casting. And so we had an incredible team, and we made a movie that will be seen on February 11th at the
Mm.
Pioneer Center in Reno, Nevada for its world premiere. So the first time that the world is going to see it will be starting February 11th. And then, of course, February 13th, theaters everywhere.
Can't wait. So exciting. Congratulations. We're so
Thank,
thrilled for you.
thank you. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's fun.
So I have a few logistical questions around that. One, who has been your inspiration as a director? And then two, you have a lot of, well, Stephen Tobolowsky, how did he
Mhm.
come into the fold? Is it I'm really curious about that one. And then thirdly, a lot of your cast members seem to be like in the Franklin, Nashville area. And so I was just wondering what the connection is with all of that.
Okay. First question first. My inspirations, the guy who sort of shot the flare into the atmosphere and said, "Follow me. We don't need studios," was Quentin Tarantino. And I
Mm.
saw Pulp Fiction in a movie theater in Sparks back in the summer of 1994. And I kind of said, you know what? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a director. I'm going to make my own movies. I'll do it through acting like Clint Eastwood did. So Clint
Mm-hmm.
Eastwood is a huge inspiration. Um, and then yeah, and it was 30 years to the summer. So we filmed it in the summer of 2024. So literally 30 years later, the dream came
Such a
true.
God thing.
I
Ah,
know.
Yeah.
yes.
And then Steven Spielberg is a huge influence on me.
Oh,
I've always loved Steven Spielberg movies. Of course, I think every person can say, but he really is a master of the craft. Um, and so Quentin Tarantino, Steven Spielberg, Clint Eastwood, um, Martin Scorsese is somebody that, I look
yeah.
at his shots and I look at the way that he moves his camera through a scene and then cutting into another scene. So there's some directors whose work I've watched my whole life as if I were a
Mm-hmm.
student of their films,
Mm-hmm.
as much as uh, a consumer and someone being entertained by them. I've studied them like a hawk, and I would say that Quentin Tarantino is definitely somebody whose work I've just studied like it was my film school. Steven
Mm.
Spielberg, somebody I've studied like film school. Martin Scorsese is somebody I've studied like film school. Sergio Leone is somebody I've studied like
Mm.
film school as directors go. Um, yeah, uh, and Clint Eastwood, of course, and
Mm-hmm.
George Clooney. George Clooney's another director whose
Mm.
work I really
Yeah.
admire. And then your second question um, had to do with
Stephen
what?
Tobolowsky.
Oh,
Stephen. Yeah.
Stephen and I met on the set of Atlas Shrugged, and it was a movie that I made. It was called Who's John Galt?
Okay.
And I was John Galt. I was John Galt. And Stephen had this scene, and I remember just watching him, and it was magical. He was magical. And I talked to him during, in between setups, and he has this rabbinical mind. He is so brilliant and thoughtful and just deeply intuitive as a human being. And I really did fall in love with the guy. I was like, dude, I'm gonna do you mind if I have your phone number? And I read his books and I just stayed in touch. And then we ended up working on Haul Out the Holly and I saw him on
Mm-hmm.
set. I was like, "Ugh," and it was immediately like, it was the next time we saw each other. So we'd never seen each other again until that
Mm-hmm.
moment. And then I was like, Steven, and he's like, whatever you want. I cannot say enough about Steven Tobolowsky. There are a few people that walk into your life and they change it for the better. And he has done
Mm-hmm.
that for me. He is a wonderful human being. His wife Anne is a wonderful woman. Um, he is he's a mensch. He is a wonderful person. Chris Parnell is somebody that I met from Misguided, a TV show I did with Judy Greer and Ashton Kutcher producers. So Chris,
Mm.
that experience. Austin Basis and I worked together in Life Unexpected. So he came from that. Bradley Gosnell is in the movie. He was my son's, all three of my kids' director in high school. And Lydia Medeiros is
Oh,
in
I
the
love
movie,
it.
and she was my kid's coach or acting director in elementary school. So I was able to give back to both of them, which I thought was lovely. My
Yes.
dad has
And
the
then you have
last
Jesse Hutchin
line.
there.
Yeah, Jesse. So I'll get to them in a second. So
Oh,
um, my dad has
okay.
the last line. Sorry, I don't mean to be like, hold on, but I'm going to get to the Franklin
Oh
question.
no.
He's a
No.
part of that answer. Um,
Okay.
so my dad has the very last line of the movie, which I think is pretty special.
Mm.
And my mom's in the background, my brother John is in the background, and then Robin Thomas, who's my dad from Life Unexpected and from Mystery 101, Amy's father.
Oh, yeah.
He has the very first line of the movie. If you just put all it is voice. You don't see him, you just can hear him.
Okay.
And then to answer your question, again, I apologize for
Oh.
jumping at you, but uh, all of the Franklin connections came through Ken Carpenter. And
Mm.
again, I said he was really gifted in casting, and he brought Jesse Hutch to the table. He brought Mariah Smallbone to the table.
Mm-hmm.
He brought Kevin Lawson to the table. Um, he brought Jason Marsden to the table, who's a really cool, wonderful actor who plays Dom Fletcher.
Mm-hmm.
So the cast was really well rounded out. And then we had a couple local hires. So Reno also
Mm.
brought to the table some actors, which were great. It
Wow.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
yes.
was a long, hey, that was a three-part question, and I had to
No,
give
no,
you all.
no. I appreciate it. Just well, there's just so much to cover in such a little time. But I love like the Hall at the Holly with the connection then with MacLain Nelson then too. And I was always wondering if that was how you got on for your little cameo role for that and things like that. So I
It
thought maybe
is.
that's where you got connected with Stephen.
That exactly. Yeah, it's McLean and I worked on a small town Christmas, and then he had the opportunity to bring me on as a cameo performer for that. So Samantha DePippo and McLean
Mm-hmm.
Nelson were like, "Do you want to do this thing?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course." And then of course we got to jump back in on Missing the Boat. He wrote and
Mm-hmm.
directed. And he's just so good, so good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I feel like I hogged it. So, Brennan, do you have a final question before he's got to run off?
Oh, girl, you did not hog it at all. Not at all. We could
We
talk
still got time, ladies. We still got a
Oh,
good
well,
10
you
minutes.
about
have 4 minutes,
about
right?
4 minutes. We will use up every minute, Chris. Will
Oh,
we?
right. 6:30. You're right. You're right. You're right. 6:30. We
Yeah.
got 4 minutes.
Yes.
Perfect.
Go ahead, Brennan.
Well, we know that music is a huge part of your life, and you've talked a lot about your son and his music journey, and obviously with Grand Ole Opry. So, could you maybe share with us a little bit about the music in your life? What kind of instruments do you play? Are you writing any songs? What's going on?
Well, thank you for letting me talk about music in my life. I believe that acting is akin to music. I hear music in dialogue and I hear music in scenes. There's like a musicality in the way that things should flow. So even as a director, I feel the beats and I'm very cognizant of the flow of a scene and the flow of a story. And I think it is directly linked to music and how people interpret music and how they listen to music and how it moves us. I grew up, playing piano. I've diddled around with songwriting and I picked up a guitar in college and high school and started strumming on a guitar. Then my son Caleb took over. And it's so funny because now I have
Nice.
no desire to play the guitar because he does it so beautifully. I have no desire to songwrite because he's so great at it. It's so interesting because there was a point in time where I thought if I wasn't going to be an actor, I'd be a rock star. And I think every actor
Mm,
said that. I think that's a
mm,
common trope. But I really did feel that call to get on a stage and just like sing my heart out with some lyrics that I wrote. And there's a truthfulness to singers. There's an honesty. We're
mhm,
like really great liars, right? We're pretending to be other people and we're trying to make you believe something that isn't real. Whereas singers get on a stage and they make you feel things that come from their heart. It's all truth. And the more truthful, the better, right?
mm.
And
Yep.
so I think that's an interesting dichotomy. And
Yeah.
Caleb, he was just gifted. The Holy Spirit, man, it moves through him through music in a way that is supernatural. And I'm excited to see what happens in his life and how he's used by that. Because, for example, we were at the Grand Ole Opry and he got to talk to all these singers that are established and have been working
Mhm.
in, as singers and songwriters and making money and a living doing this thing. And they all just poured into him. I mean, they're just all like, dude, don't give up. Dude, try this and do that. And then instead of walking into the circle, just like Nicky's character in the movie, he was like, I want to earn it, Daddy. And he went back to
Oh.
my dressing room and he wrote a song at the Opry. And he said, well, maybe one day I'll be able to sing this song on stage. And so he's got this song in his cannon ready, locked and loaded, and ready to fire off at the Grand Ole Opry. So we'll see what happens. His story is just getting started, but music is a huge part of our lives. And yeah, I love it. I love listening to it when I go to sleep. I love listening to it when I drive to work. I will listen to one specific song as a
Mhm.
character for the entire length of a show. So for like Valentine, this TV show I did on CW, I listened to a
Mhm.
Coldplay album over and
Mhm.
over and over for months. For Life Unexpected, I listened to that Moon song by, I think it's George Isaacson, I forget his name, but it's called That Moon Song. And for 2 years, it was just on repeat because it was Baze's song.
Okay. Love
Yeah.
it.
Little wacky.
What song are you listening to right now, real quick? Would you share?
Well, let's see. If I were to open up my playlist, oh gosh, this is going to make me sound like a real elitist, but J.S.
Oh,
Bach,
Chris,
Oh,
classic. You could never go wrong with Bach.
Volume 10, baby.
That's right.
I'm listening to yeah, the orchestral suite number 3 in D minor.
Wonderful.
So there you go.
There you go. Fantastic.
well,
Which is
thank
kind
you
of
so
set fitting.
much.
It's fitting for the movie I'm working on right now. So that's perfect for my character now. Ladies, thank you for having me on your show. What a pleasure to
Thank you,
be.
Chris.
This was such an honor, Chris. Thank you so much. So lovely to meet you. Hope we can talk again.
I look forward to it.